Welcome to the Planted Not Buried podcast. I'm your host, Lance Thonvold, motivational speaker and former professional athlete with the Seattle Mariners. The mission of this podcast is to sow seeds of hope into your soul, dig up deep roots of purpose within you that have yet to be uncovered, and grow you exactly where God has planted you so that you can reap your ultimate harvest in life. I will be your host throughout this podcast, and you can expect power-packed, spirit-led, short, motivational messages designed to pierce your heart and move you into immediate action. Whether you're at the gym, in the car, or anywhere in between, I know how busy your life is, and want to personally thank you for taking the time to listen. My message for you is this: you are here on this earth for a reason. You've been planted for a season, and it's time to grow into all you're supposed to become. Please partner with me in planting this message of hope all over the world. And it starts with sowing one seed, sowing one episode into somebody else's life that could change them forever. Not because of me and my power, but because of God and the words He is going to speak through me and the way He is going to use you to distribute this message. Here are a few ways that we can plant this message into other people. Number one, subscribe to the podcast. I'll be dropping frequent messages designed to uplift, encourage, and reshape the way that you think. Please leave a review. I'm always going for a 5-star rating. Number two, just share this podcast with somebody else. You're hearing this for a reason. Pour out this message to somebody else that needs it. Share it via text, or just simply take a screenshot and post it to your Instagram story and tag me, and I will always do my best to give you a shout out and a repost. You can tag me at LannyT42 on Instagram, and with your help, together we can keep plowing for a more purposeful tomorrow. And put your gloves on, folks, because we got root work to do. Welcome to the Planted Not Buried podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Man, I'm fired up about this one. The title of today's message is Environments Don't Always Dictate Your Elevation. Environments don't always dictate your elevation. You do. You're the one who dictates how far that you elevate, how big your life gets, and how the places that you go to change because of you, not because of where you come from, and not because of the environment that you're in. Oh, buddy boy, this is like, strap in. This is a big time shift for me in changing perspective. Recently just having our second child, Ranger Lee. Shout out to my wife, Kaylee, for birthing an amazing baby boy, almost 8 pounds on December 18th. 2022. Man, what an experience. And we did the whole birth from home. Yeah. We did the whole birth from home. The environment that we were in was a place that I wasn't used to thinking about birth. And I got to take you back to my mindset prior to having this birth at home. Okay, and that's like, my perspective is changing, because I think for so long, like, all the influencers, all the gurus, all the books out there will tell you that it's all about your environment, which dictates the level of success that you go to. And for so long, I believe that certain places are meant for certain things. Like, birth is meant for the hospital. I think our culture tells us that birth is meant for the hospital. Movies, it's just seen as scary. It's seen as sudden. It's just seen as like a birth is going to happen in a hospital. But like, in reality, the more I started to research it, I realized that that's really, in America, most births happen in the hospital. Around the world, most births happen at home, right? So that's a mindset thing that I had to get over, because Kaylee first approached me and she said, after the birth of Radlin, we did that in the hospital. It went how it was supposed to go by the hand of God. Like, it went the way it was supposed to go. What an amazing birth. However, Kaylee wanted something different this time. Like, she approached me and she said, Lance, like, I want to have the birth at home. Like, for some of you that know Kaylee, my wife, she's so strong. She's amazing. I love you, Kaylee. But when she makes a decision, like, my wife makes a decision. Like, I think she has way more discernment than I do. Like she can make a gut choice and a decision in seconds that might take me a couple sermons to get the answer, But so Kaylee, shout out to you with your discernment, babe. I need to access that more often than I do. And I got like this wisdom and discernment right here in my house. And sometimes I'll seek a sermon, or I'll seek a message, or I'll wait on a different voice before I make a decision, man. So, but Kaylee, she approached me. She said, I want to have a home birth. But what she really said is, we're going to have a home birth. And it was something that I was going to adjust to. And I think because I thought certain things happen in certain places, like births happen in hospitals, like I thought my gut answer, my gut reaction was no, babe, no, we're not doing that. I'm afraid, A, what if something goes wrong? B, we got no option. We don't have any options. And that really ended up not being true, because the midwife team that we chose, they're the best in Arizona, probably the best in the country. Shout out to them, Emergence Midwifery. Okay, so if you're in Arizona, Emergence Midwifery, they are the amazing team. They sat with us, preparing us for the birth for, hours. We were used to doctor's visits being 15 minutes. Every appointment that we had with this team was literally an hour, and they were coming to our house. So this was different from the start. It wasn't just the birth that was crazy, it was the care. It wasn't just the actual moment, it was, them living out their mission every single time that we got to meet with them. So that was amazing. And I saw Kaylee so convicted by the spirit within her that we were going to have a birth at home. And for me, my mindset was, it can't happen here, because that's not where births happen. Right? So we go throughout this process. We decide to do it. I'm acclimating myself. I'm adjusting. The midwife team is amazing. I'm starting to see how great this could be, how amazing this could be. We get to the birth. Our previous one was 52 hours of labor. Ended up in the hospital, had the birth, and it was just long. Kaylee literally birthed this child in 12 hours. 2 to 4 hours of really, really heavy active labor at the end, and the rest of it was pre-labor. And it was 12 hours. It was amazing. There was no medicine. There was no interventions. It was all Kaylee. It was all the Holy Spirit. And I got to experience something in an environment that I never thought I could experience, because my mind said, we can't do something here, because it's not the place that this thing happens. Birth isn't meant for the home, therefore we can't do it at home. And Kaylee's mind was, no, Lance, we are having the birth at home because my environment doesn't dictate the places I'm going to elevate to. And because we needed to be I'm so glad that I didn't hold us back. I'm so glad that I didn't say that our environment has to be the hospital before, we can have our second child. Man, I'm so fortunate that I didn't do that. And I didn't hold Kaylee back from the freedom she was going to have having no options. And I don't mean no options we couldn't go to the hospital, because we could. The midwife care team won't allow you to have a birth that's going to put you in danger, or a birth that's you have pre-existing stuff. They're not going to even take you as a client. 13% of their births this year ended up in the hospital. So that just tells you about how much they care about the person that they're working with. It's not about having the birth at home to have the birth at home. It's about having a healthy birth, and wherever that ends up being, that's where it's meant to be. Okay, so they're going to take care of you from the start. And Kaylee, everything went according to her plan. And I'm fortunate, because I didn't hold us back, and I didn't allow our environment to dictate the places and the mindset that Kaylee was going to have to elevate to have a birth unhinged and unchained from any intervention. Like there was no option to intervene. And she had to elevate herself to a place that could give birth without medication. Right? And the medication that Kaylee was on, that I got to witness, was the Holy Spirit. Like what she had pumping through her veins was different. And I'm glad I didn't allow our environment to dictate how we got to experience birth. In that moment, I had to be her rock. I had to be there with her. Like the doulas had to be there with her. The team had to be there with her. And there was no return. Like we burned the boats. Like we burned the boats on the birth. Like there was no going back. Like could we have gone to the hospital? Of course. Like yes, of course. We could have drove there if something came up. But mentally, we had burned the boats. There was no retreat. There was no going back. And that allowed Kaylee to go to a place that I've never seen before. Like I've never seen that level of strength come from a human being. That I got to be there and witness it firsthand. And I'm glad I didn't hold us back from that experience because of the environment that we are in. Like Holy Spirit, like you are welcome here. Wow. I can't, like it's hard to even fathom and put into words the strength. And I think there's so much strength in all of you. Like all of you that are listening today, like, okay, Lance, like what's the point? Like there's so much strength in all of you that you're waiting to tap into and you're waiting to go to when the stars align and the circumstances in your external environment is conducive to what everybody says it should be. Like the influencers and the gurus and people, everyone telling you around here, like audit your environment, change your circumstances, change your environment, change your habits. Like I believe that. Like there's a lot of truth in that. But there's also a lot of young people. There's also people with families that can't just up and leave their job, that can't just up and leave the school that they go to in order for them to get a different result. So like my message today is like, there's people that come from bad circumstances and environments that make it to the major leagues, that become multimillionaires, that become philanthropists, that become billionaires, that become, not that money is a barometer to success, it's not, but what I'm saying is they didn't allow their environment to dictate how far that they went. They didn't allow their environment to dictate the elevation that they allowed God to take them to. Okay, that's the message. And my 2 points that I want to make here is it's not your environment that matters, it's you. It's not the place that you're in, it's you. Because in your house, you can change places and you can change your mentality around that place. Like I've created a home office here. Like I used to tell Kaylee, like I can't work from home. I can't work from home. I got to be in a different environment in order for me to focus. That was a lie that I was telling myself. So what did I do? I created a home office within my current environment. I created a new place that I go to, and I predetermined and premeditated on this space that this would be my new mission field within my same environment, that I would be productive and successful working from home, but I designated a new space for it. So for some of you, like you're waiting to go to a new school, you're waiting to go to a new job, like you're waiting to go to a new gym, right? You're waiting to go for a new environment when really you could just change your mindset around the current place that you operate in. And you could declare a new mindset over the same place that you're in. But you can change where you go to, not just physically, but mentally. So that's number one. Environments aren't going to dictate how far that you go. You do. You get to decide. Like Kaylee didn't allow us not being at the hospital to dictate the elevation of her mind and her body and the Holy Spirit working in her to birth an amazing child. She determined that. Her mind did. Her internal fortitude did. That's what changed. And number two is it's a mentality. Like the second point is it's a mentality, not about the environment that you're in. Because I know there's a lot of people out there, and especially what I do, speaking to different teams and schools, there's a lot of teams and schools that I'll go to, or a lot of teams in schools that you'll see where they have so much access, but they have no action. Like I'll go to and look at these facilities that these teams have an opportunity to operate in every single day. They have all the access in the world, like to the best stuff, to the best environment conducive to success. Like we're in America, we have everything at our fingertips. We have so much freedom, but our mind keeps us locked up. Like we have so much freedom, but our mind keeps us locked up. There's people with a lot of access out here that take no action. Like it doesn't matter. There's people that have nothing that go to different places, that go to a higher calling, that fulfill their God-given purpose within there at another level than people who have it all. Like the amount of equipment you have doesn't determine how much you exercise. Oh, come on now. Now we talking. The amount of equipment that you have doesn't determine the amount of exercise that you do. Come on, you got to be feeling me on that. Like don't get confused with equipment and health. Don't get confused with equipment and exercise. It doesn't work like that. There's people with no equipment that are exercising their mind more than anybody. Like the kids that I played with from Venezuela and Dominican, they would tell me about their home life. That wasn't the environment that they were in, wasn't conducive to getting to the major leagues, but they did it because of their mind, because of what they believed what was possible. So the question I want to ask you and leave with you today is, what are you waiting for? Like what is it that you're waiting on? And what is it that you're waiting for? What external change are you waiting on before you change? Like you might be waiting on a new gym membership before you start working out, before you change your body physically. Or you're waiting on that coffee shop to open down the street before you start writing your book, before you start doing the things that you say you want to do. You're waiting on the circumstances to be perfect and the stars to be aligned before you take yourself to the places that you know that have been promised to you deep down within your heart. Like you have promises that have been planted deep, but you're not accessing them because you're waiting to change your environment. You're waiting to change your job. You're waiting to change the school that you go to. Yeah, I'm speaking to you athletes. Like there's some people, like I speak to athletes all the time, like people getting up in the transfer portal. Like they're saying, you know what, I'm out on serving this team. Like I want to go be served somewhere else. Like you think that changing the school is going to change your life. But what I heard someone really, really smart say one time, they were talking about all the places that they ran from. They were talking about all the different environments that they went to, all the different titles and positions and jerseys that they wore, and how they would go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, and to the next. And then finally they realized that even though they went to new places, they went to environment, the thing that was common was them. Like every time the place that they went to changed, every time the environment they went to changed, they were always there. Like it was them. They were the common denominator to their success or their unhappiness. Like some of you, you're waiting on a new relationship for you to start valuing yourself. Like you didn't come here for that one. Like some of you are waiting on somebody to start valuing you more before you value you. Like, son, daughter, you have enough value. You have enough worth. Like, it doesn't come from external people. It doesn't come from what people say about you. Like, don't wait on a relationship to start valuing yourself. Like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for to start? What are you waiting for? Get going right now. Like, it's time to change. Like, it's time to change. You're waiting to start living differently before that you go and go to the places that you want to go to. Like, you're waiting to start living differently based upon your environment. Like, here's the power of God. Like, here's the power of the Holy Spirit. This is what I know that he's trying to tell you right now is he can change everything by changing nothing in your life. He can change everything for you without changing anything for you. Like, and what I mean by that is God has so much strength and he has so much power in your mind and in who you are. Like, he can change nothing about your environment or your circumstances, but he can change everything about your whole life. Like, and it's not the external environment that I'm talking about. It's about the internal dialogue that he's trying to change. Like, it's the internal dialogue that you have with yourself. Once you change that will change everything in your life. Like, switch the internal dialogue that you have with yourself on a daily basis, and that'll change everything about your life, even if nothing in your life changes. Like, come on, you got to be feeling me on that. Like, there's something that you can change with the way that you talk about yourself, the way that you think about yourself, the way that you feel about yourself. You can change that because of who God says you are, and that can change your entire life. That can change the trajectory of the elevation that you go to, the heights that you go to, the calling that you chase down, without even changing anything in your current circumstance, in environment, in the place that you live. Like, that's the power of a changed mind. That's the power of a made-up mind. It's flip your internal dialogue. Like, let's go. It's not all about your environment. I think there are times for certain places and certain things to happen in certain areas. I believe that. Like, there are some times where I really need to focus and I got to get into a different place. But maybe I've been tricking myself into thinking that it's the place that I go to physically, but it's really the place that I go to mentally that needs to change. Come on, y'all. Your elevation is out there. Don't allow your current environment to hold you back. Because my wife didn't. I wanted to hold us back and say, births are only in the hospital. She said, no, they're not. They're happening in this home. She said, Lance, they're happening in this home. They're happening in 9 months. And it's going to be the best birth I've ever had in my life. And she proclaimed it and she declared it over her life. And she meditated 3 times a day using the Christian hypnobirthing app, preparing for that promise. Like, don't just think that your life is ultimately going to change without doing any prep work. Don't think that you're going to go to the elevation, you're going to go to the heights that you want to go to without preparing your mind and your body and your spirit. Like, I know there's some of you that are praying for a change. You're praying for a change in your life, but you've done no prep work. Like, prepare for it like you're going to get it. Prepare for it and expect it to happen before it happens. Like, so many times in this life, we want to see it. We want to see the favor. We want to touch the favor before we act. Before we take action on it. And Kaylee was like, no. I'm meditating 3 times a day. I'm doing my Christian hypnobirthing 3 times a day. I'm preparing my mind and my body to have this birth at home. And then when that birth came, my God, was that powerful. I saw the Holy Spirit. I saw God working through my wife to birth a child because there was no other option But for her to go to a place and elevate her mind, her body, to do something without intervention. And the only intervention that she was having was a new internal dialogue with herself about what was possible. Shout out to my wife for changing my mind forever. And you can too. You want to start living differently. Change the way you speak to yourself. I'm Lance Thonvold, your host of the Planted Not Buried podcast. Tune in for the next one, y'all. Like I always say, put your gloves on. We got root work to do. Thank you for listening to the Planted Not Buried podcast. Remember, you're here on this earth for a reason. You've been planted for a season, and it's time to grow into all you're supposed to become. Please partner with me in planting this message of hope all over the world. It starts with just sowing one seed and sowing one episode into somebody else's life that could literally change them forever, not because of me and my power, but because of what God is going to speak through me and how he's going to use you to distribute his messages. And here's just a few ways that we can plant this message into other people. Number one, just subscribe to the podcast. I'm going to be dropping frequent, power-packed messages designed to uplift, encourage, and reshape the way you think. Leave a 5-star review and just share this podcast with somebody else. You're hearing it for a reason. Pour it out to somebody else that you know that needs it. Pray about it, think about it, and share it with them via text, or just take a screenshot and post it to your Instagram or Facebook story. And I'll always do my best to give you a shout out or repost. And with your help, you guys, together, we can keep plowing for a more purposeful tomorrow. If you want to get connected with me further or have me come out and speak to your school, speak to your organization or team, just go to lancethonvold.com and fill out the booking form, or just simply email me at info@lancethonvold.com, or we can get connected on all social platforms under Lance Thonvold or LannyT42 on Instagram. As always, guys, put your gloves on because we got root work to do. We will see you next time on the Planted Not Buried podcast.